Greetings. Today's focus is on Nikola Semi fraud versus the Tesla option. We also look at, and there are 5 elements of why we feel like Nikola is a complete fraud. We also take a look at new developments on the Model 3. As you can see, we have a Chevy Bolt that was parked right behind me, and I just finished interviewing, so we're going to include some comments that the owner of that made relative to his 12,000 miles that he has on the car. So the other thing we're going to cover today is the fact that the Model 3, as we know, the 35K model has been offered and things are not going well. Any rate, also wanted to note, I can see when all of you say hello, and we appreciate your commentary and can only respond to you at the end based on the fact that most of the folks watching the show at other times are not available to therefore view. At any rate, this is Greg for Tesla Fan Inside. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time on our channel, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. I was trying to include the Chevy Bolt there unsuccessfully. He pulled off, but it was a quick interview, good conversation, and I want to bring that up further down in the show. So just a reminder, we are now moving to provide content only to subscribers and Patreon supporters. Wanted to thank our subscribers and thank our Patreon supporters. Your support is appreciated and definitely impacts quality of execution and improvement in everything we're doing, including mic, as you can hear, camera work, etc. The start of today's show focuses on what's going on with Nikola. I'm going to take my hat off here, but I wanted to point out you can get yours on, as you know, the folks at Amazon are now have a dedicated Tesla area, so you can pick up all manner of Tesla gear there, and I encourage you to go over and do so. So what I wanted to start on today is we have a kind of a semi-focus on trucks here. So you get it semi and focus. Why I wanted to bring this up, and Nikola is supposed to be about to introduce their semi-truck in various iterations, an all-electric version, as well as their hydrogen truck, and they're allegedly going to offer track driving of these trucks as well. I chose to use the word fraud today because it turns out that the CEO of Nikola suggested that Tesla's trucks were a fraud, and the issue that comes up is, and I think it's a fascinating use of a word because it's a little more powerful than fake and other words, and it was actually what was used by the CEO of the company. So I thought it was interesting. And we kind of have a series, if you look at our channel, we have a series of conversations that we bring up what was said by the CEO of Nikola regarding fraud, and then deconstruct his argument in terms of fraud relative to Tesla. And in this case, we're kind of using it in a reverse direction, as in fraud when it comes to Nikola. So the focus of what I wanted to review today is the fact that as Nikola is about to introduce their products, I wanted to have some video show up in terms of an update of where we think things are at. There are 5 elements that we want to review when it comes to Nikola and what we think is fraud relative to them delivering a credible product. The first is that Nikola is I have to admit, I'm blown away by the quality of their marketing, where they've done their market research, and in many ways they've worked hard to execute marketing in a superior way in every fashion possible. And great website, great story, great statements about products they're going to deliver, etc. The big challenge, though, is what if you have all this great marketing but you're not showing or delivering any products? And their argument is that they're going to move into that space over the next week or so. And there are 5 reasons why we think it's a complete fraud/fake. Number 1, They promised a working prototype that could be out in the field by now. We haven't seen anything. Number two, they're doing an off-the-shelf parts process where they have partners like Robert Bosch and other well-regarded manufacturers that are providing each component of what they're doing. And so one could argue if the true manufacturer of this truck is a company called Fitzgerald, the name of the company should not be Nikola, it should actually be Fitzgerald, because they actually had the manufacturing expertise and they're going to be building the truck. So I think that's sort of number two of this sucker's fake. The third thing that kind of blows me away, and I'm really looking forward to how this product introduction plays out for them, is the fact that when it comes to Daimler, Tesla, Cummins, every one of the companies that are delivering electric and even hydrogen vehicles, when it comes to Toyota right now, have been in product development for between 10 and 20 years to now start delivering the next stage of products. And for the folks at Nikola to pivot into electric semis within a 6-month period is pretty stunning, amazing, shocking that some of the biggest, best finance companies in the world are taking 5 to 10 years to get product to market. And we're now having Nikola show up to market 6 months with a new product. So can you show off a product in 6 months? Can you show a beautiful exterior in 6 months and something that would be impressive in looks? Absolutely. The challenge, though, is when you deal with trucks, particularly semis, you're talking mission critical freight. So consumers can have breakdowns and swap cars out and other things can occur. But when it comes to delivering freight, those companies' livelihoods depend on whether or not those things are delivered. So not only the build of a product, but the testing of that product, it tends to be rather severe because there's a clear knowledge by the owners of those products that if those products do not work, you put a company out of business, whereas a consumer might be mildly inconvenienced. So overall, I would say that my assessment of Nikola is it's great that they're making an effort to deliver products to help out in terms of hydrogen-driven products and their fueling facilities. It's great that they want to be involved in electric trucks and they're working to deliver a product in that area. But to have any credible company buy a 6-month-old product from a company that doesn't even manufacture its own trucks, I think that it'll be hard-pressed for this to occur, with the noticeable exception that from what we can gather, the folks at Nikola are funded by perhaps some very large, well-regarded entities out there that can, bankroll the dreams of the CEO and sort of make something happen. But we're questioning the credibility of the whole thing for many reasons stated. The next thing I wanted to jump into is there's been a number of developments with the Model 3 that I wanted to walk through. There's a whole discussion going on about autonomous driving, and Josh, you just brought that up. I appreciate that. The thing we all should be aware of is that there's actually a company called Mobileye, which is a part of now of Intel, and Mobileye is a monster, I want to say, because they have 90% of the manufacturers in the world using their products. Because they have 90% of the cars using their autonomous vehicle products, if you will, and that does not include Tesla, they have the benefit of collecting all that data from those cars every day to incrementally keep improving the products that they deliver. So Tesla and Mobileye broke their partnership a year and a half ago, and Tesla has chosen to go on its own. And the main reason Mobileye did this is because they were worried about Tesla representing fully autonomous being ready to go, and Mobileye knew that this was not the case. and they broke off with Tesla to avoid getting sued as problems, issues, accidents might occur based on Elon representing it as being fully baked. I have to admit that it's my belief that where we're going with autonomous driving, based on several scientists' comments, is I believe that with perhaps 5G, there are going to be a whole bunch of road sensors put in, be it on telephone poles and embedded in the roads, so that all the autonomous systems have a minimum standard of performance that they'll do, such that, people on the roads won't be endangered by vehicles moving on in an autonomous fashion. So I think it's great if Tesla can say it's slightly ahead of GM, or GM can say they're ahead of this other person, but all it takes is a few people to die, and I think it'll transition into the government stepping in and saying, hey, we need to have a solution here that's safe for everybody. And just like the roadways have certain markings, certain widths, etc., I just think that the best thing to do is to just have a minimum standard for everything that's being done in this space, so that all consumers, both the ones in the cars and near those cars and trucks, can be safe in process. The next thing I wanted to get into is kind of new developments with the Model 3. It's exciting news that Tesla has now chosen to go to leasing. I think this is awesome because there's a whole bunch of folks that can now afford to get into the car, because leasing is in essence paying for 3 years on half the price of the car. There are leasing options at the 10, 12, and 15,000 miles in a year. I was very surprised to learn that Tesla's not allowing those that are leasing to purchase the vehicles they lease at the end of the lease. I don't see why that's the case. The argument is that fully autonomous taxi driving for these vehicles is where they're headed. But I was really surprised by the non-buy option provided by Tesla, because it's this very thing that was one of the founding principles of Tesla, was that when GM originally offered their first electric cars in the early 90s, they only put them on leases and would not let consumers keep them. So it was one of the mandates that the Tesla folks argued for why they put their company together. And so I'm very shocked to see Tesla decide to move in the same direction, when in fact it was part of the corporate mandate of how the company was started. The next thing that pops up is what's going on with the 35K version of the Model 3. It's been offered online and then retracted again, and now sort of there's an upsell process to, I believe, a $38,000 model. It's our belief that as Elon said a year ago, he pointed out that if Tesla simply offered the 35K version in large numbers, it would put the company out of business. It's my belief that part of the goal has been to get optimizations at the Giga Factory on batteries to the point where the cost of production has dropped enough to make that cheaper version of the vehicle viable. And so clearly there's no heavy incentive to move in that direction. So it tells us that where we are at in terms of costs for that vehicle is that we're not at the 35K number yet. And I'm glad to see Tesla pulling back from pushing out a bunch of these vehicles and then taking losses in every one, and therefore jeopardizing the company. So there's a lot of us that are looking forward to the 35K vehicle, and we look forward to some changes there that reflect the cost dropping enough for this vehicle to come out. But it would be a shame to see it come out and in essence destroy the company. This brings up an interesting point. This week we do our usual stop by and visit. Every 10 days or so we visit our local service facility. Had a chance to talk with an employee this week, and I asked him how things were going, and he said, hey, we're doing great. And I said, well, why are you excited about the company right now? He said, hey, we're the future, and the products we're delivering, electric is the future. of the auto industry. And I was really kind of surprised by his comment because on one hand, I agree that electric is where we're all headed because the performance aspects, no oil pollution, there are all these great things about where we're going electric. The challenge, though, I see is that I'm nervous about the future because I'm hoping it includes Tesla because there are so many small and large sort of issues that are showing up with their vehicles. And I'm hopeful that Tesla is able to iron out all these issues before we have huge competition move in. Now, speaking of issues, and I would love to have any and all of you leave a note on our show, is that we kind of track both Facebook and other pages to find out what's going on in the Tesla community. And one of the things that's not being logged is sort of, number of people that are having certain problems and how they're being solved. And what we found on our channel is if we highlight an issue, particularly if we give it front page coverage, those folks that are charged with viewing channels like ours are actually making sure the company addresses those issues. And one example was we featured a show on the fact that there were break-ins happening, and those break-ins on the Model 3 were happening through the furthest rear window. As you all know, there's been an update. The new security is now catching people when they do this, and so I think it's terrific to see that occur. There's another thing that I want to highlight in a similar manner that I think we really need to see a fix from Tesla on, and that is that a number of Model 3 owners, and I'm seeing it even for some Model S and X owners, are experiencing blank screens at certain points. So a feature might be engaged like autopilot on the freeway or getting onto the freeway, and all of a sudden the screen completely goes blank and there's a reboot that's needed, possibly a turning the car off and turning it back on. And some users have talked about it happening, right out the gate in the first week, and there being a lot of nervousness and thinking about returning the car. Some users are saying it happens maybe once a month, every few months. But I'm impressed by those that haven't, have experienced this and have decided, haven't said much, but I wanted to highlight it here today because that way those of you who own these vehicles and see this problem can kind of search around for ideas on how other users are working with this. So I just wanted to encourage all of you to be aware of this problem of blank screens, particularly on the Model 3s, and also researching it. That way, if and when it happens to you, you can sort of be exposed and aware of it. I want to switch over here. I mean, Josh, I see Roger, a number of you have said hello. You have a vibrant conversation going on in terms of Nikola ripping off Tesla's name, etc. This is part of what I consider great marketing on their part to find ways to represent themselves as somehow being affiliated with Tesla, to sort of steal some of Tesla's thunder as they come to market with product. It is good. I think it's good marketing, but obviously it's bad news. My assessment in the question that was posed is, what's my assessment of autonomous driving? I've covered that. I think it's autonomous driving will come in. I think a lot of us will end up using it over time. I just don't want to see a lot of dead people, as was the case with the Uber vehicle that was driving around in the interim. The most important comment that I sort of heard relative to autonomous driving was there's a PhD computer researcher at Stanford that pointed out that right now the technology is solid when it comes to dealing with managing the vehicles relative to other vehicles on the road, and that's going well. When you throw in, animals and people, the systems need more work before it's fully baked. And so therefore, I'm a proponent of autonomous driving. I think it's great Tesla's involved with it and trying to push the envelope, but I'm hopeful that it stays slow and people don't get hurt in the process. Yeah, Josh, excellent comments regarding buy the rumor, sell the news. There's a lot of action going on right now with people buying Tesla stock ahead of its earnings and selling the news. Jonas, thanks for the comment regarding what's going on in the Giga Factory in China. I'm fascinated they call it a Giga Factory when they're not building any batteries there. The goal is to have it up and running with production of cars and the batteries coming from the Reno Giga Factory to support that facility. I'm actually kind of shocked right now because it was our estimate that there were actually 24 companies in China that were working to duplicate Tesla and then duplicate its production of electric vehicles. And I just read a report that suggests that number is actually 500 manufacturers in China that have entered the EV production space. And that's kind of stunning to hear that many places opening up. But if you're looking forward to electric vehicles sort of dominating, I think that, you know, it's great to see all those folks looking to deliver, you know, something good. Curious Sam, thanks for the comment regarding what's happening between Panasonic and Tesla right now. I'm fascinated because I think Tesla represents about a quarter of Panasonic's sales right now. And as you know, the Model X and S are still being serviced by batteries coming in from Japan to the Fremont plant. And Panasonic is the primary manufacturer of the batteries still. So there's been a discussion of Tesla switching to manufacture of batteries in China, but excuse me, as you've noticed, there's actually an expansion. Tesla changed its plans to start manufacturing in China and instead announced that they would be doubling the capacity of the Fremont plant. One of the recent comments that came up was that there would be some change in how much Tesla was investing. But from our assessment right now, what's going on is that there's a, excuse me, a cycling out process that's going on where Tesla is removing slower production lines from the Panasonic production facilities and adding in high-speed lines that allow more throughput of batteries in the same square footage. So one of the discussions has been the fact that Tesla could possibly double battery production without changing much square footage. So I do believe that there have been announcements about bad blood between the two companies, but there's a lot of business being done and a lot of reliance on each other right now that I don't see changing anytime soon. As you all know, the Maxwell situation is that the owners of Maxwell have sued to try to stop the merger from occurring. So that has not occurred yet. I don't think it's a big deal. I think that right now Tesla's in a great position. There's new technology coming in they need to be aware of, and what Maxwell brings is access to that. So I think that the general trend for the Maxwell component of things is that Tesla is continuing to look at where battery technology is going and being prepared to move to it to make sure that they're technologically in the game. My biggest concern for Tesla right now is, hey, there are a lot of good customers right now that are getting vehicles. Can we make sure things like screens, security, everything is working well? Because I think that solidly performing vehicles are the best way to deal with inbound competition from everyone. I want to close today with a correction. It turns out one of our viewers highlighted the fact that we had suggested that the new e-tron, as well as the Taycan as it's pronounced, would not be able to supercharge. And the answer is they will be capable of doing fast charging. And it's been one of the priorities of VW to make sure they can do that. Greetings, Sean. The issue with the enough respect deal, the issue that I see going on right now is that it's great that the Taycan can do fast charging. It will take time for them, Mercedes and others, to both get vehicles out in scale. I actually thought there was some mind-blowing news that popped up in the introduction by others, and we'll sort of move this into our next show. And that really focuses on the fact that there's a pooling process that goes on when it comes to EV credits. So these big companies are facing fines of as much as $2 billion if by 2021 or 2022 they don't have a sizable offering of electric vehicles to present to consumers. So thank you. It might be Bugs Bunny behind me. Thank you. So I wanted to bring all this up to you guys because there's a lot of exciting news happening in the electric space. It's great to see Tesla rolling out, and as oil prices are rising, more people are inclined to move towards electric vehicles, and Tesla in particular being the dominant player here. So long-winded statement to say electric is coming in. I'm hopeful Tesla's management challenges can be addressed so that we can see the company do well and help the company succeed as we go into this new zone. Josh, thanks for the question regarding my thoughts on NIO. My confusion with NIO is that there's actually a company called BYD, and BYD actually sells more electric vehicles than even Tesla does in China. And so at some point, the fact that BYD has its own battery manufacturing and car manufacturing facilities, they can pretty much squash whoever they want. And they're battling Tesla in terms of size and capability. So I think NIO is out there, but my thoughts on NIO is what about after BYD, what about the 498 other companies that are in China that are producing electric vehicles, and how they're all going to battle it out for market share and to stay relevant in the future. So I do think NIO has some nice stuff out there, and they did get to market first. But I just think that we'll have to see whether or not they exist, given that you have to get scale batteries to fuel your effort. Your charging facilities are going to be part of your competitive advantage or not. Can they supercharge those? I just think there's a lot of question marks there, but it represents one of the large number of entities we're seeing that are producing really nice initial great looking vehicles, but there's some real challenges when it comes to delivering on the back end of some really nice press clippings. So wanted to note again, our next step is that tomorrow we're going to be producing our first private show for subscribers / Patreon supporters only. It's going to focus on some discoveries we had at the factory, and then we'll be back with our show, particularly as Nikola delivers their first product. We look forward to seeing what it is and be able to commentate on that. For now, we really think it's ridiculous because they're not manufacturing anything. They're trying to cobble together a solution, and they just have so many great competitors facing them that we think it's a complete fraud, ridiculous. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thanks once again for joining us. Want to say Tschüss, mach's gut, German, au revoir, French, ni hao ma, Chinese, lahitraot, Hebrew, hoda hafez. Also wanted to encourage you guys to, throw your comments in at the end of the show so that folks that weren't on the show live feed can get a chance to chime in on the conversation as well. In Jamaica, we say, enough respect, walk good. And yes, I agree. The activity was kind of fun to see. And will do, Sean. Hit us up on our Facebook page, and we'll definitely have the listing of timings. Have a great